Hey everybody, so it's been a while since I've rolled out any sort of Dreamwork EDUs for our Patreon members in the $10 a month and higher tier. We've been focusing on the live dream tending, of course, which is tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I just posted the link on Patreon. But this month I also wanted to do an EDU, and I wanted to really focus on divination and spell work in lucid dream states. So let's jump into it. I made a PowerPoint for you so you can follow along. I have some great exercises in there for everybody. So let's do the thing. All right. Where are we? All right, so the lucid practitioner. We've heard this term loosely in certain dream work groups, but lucid practitioning is very powerful. But it can feel very complex if you're new to dream work. So I wanted to roll it out in a way that was easy to understand for beginners, intermediaries, and for more advanced practitioners. So let's just jump right in. So, what we're going to kind of be reviewing today is what exactly is lucid dreaming? Why is it so important for us practitioners? What are the parallels between alchemy and dreaming? Why is lucid cultivation important? What are the benefits that we can reap? What do you need to do to become lucid in your dreams? And how to set personal reality checks and lucid dream plans. And I am going to roll out a visualization exercise for you as well. So, without further ado, I'm going to try to keep it simple. All right. So, what is lucid dreaming and why is it so important? So, it is a very Buddhist practice. If any of you remember, I focus a lot on Buddhist methodology. I have a lot of videos on YouTube that focus on different branches of Buddhist practice. It is very connected to their meditation practices. It's a transpersonal practice. It's very much an alchemical process. You're kind of in a lucid state moving forward and back in time on multiple timelines. It is dream state work for those of you that, if you remember, about a year ago, we walked through doing dream altars, ancestral dreaming, visitation dreaming. So this is very much in line with that. It's in line with the soul sleep process. Um, Now, of course, I put these disclaimers in here. Not every dream needs to be analyzed. Sometimes we're just exploring without an anchor, and that's okay. Not every dream should be a lucid dream. I like to reference Robert Moss a lot. There is the great work, those of you who are familiar with that, and that's about elevating our vibration to the highest point while our spirit is embodied. And this is part of that process, lucid dreaming. Um, Robert Moss says it's important to start out very conscious and to stay that way in our dream work, which takes practice. This doesn't happen overnight. If it does, good for you. Some of the benefits too, um, a lot of people reference it as hag attacks. I hate referencing it as hag attacks, but I am because I know that's common. But a lot of us, who are practitioners, we have bouts of sleep paralysis. We have bouts of struggling to move. We get caught in the hypnagogue state. And I think that lucid dreaming helps us to kind of combat those elements. And I'll talk more about that in the presentation today, but I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. I wanted to focus on how to do this and why you might want to do this. Dreams are thought responsive. So there is an intelligence there. And if something has intelligence, it's worth developing, right? Okay. So, what are the parallels, right? When we're talking about parallels, magic in our dreams impacts our waking life. Everything in our dream state really does impact our waking life. When we can see what happens when we cast a spell, for example, and we can see that in a lucid dream, what that looks like, what that feels like. Now we know in our waking state what that energy looks like for the visualization process that comes with casting. I think that in lucid dream states, once you have developed that practice, you have these infusions of energy or these blasts of energy, right? And you can use that to summon different spirits or deity that you're working with. You can use that for divination. You can use that for shape shifting. And shape shifting is a very broad term, but I mean, it definitely fits into the shamanism aspect of dream work, journey work, spirit flight. All these things will intensify with a lucid dreaming practice. There is the sensorial aspects, right? Having full memory of that dream and what we experienced and what we seen and what we did, how we navigated it is almost like a form of time travel. Honestly, I really believe it is because we can look at different timelines. We can practice our skills, our casting skills. I think lucid dreams are a great area to use chant works, chanting. That is very Buddhist, when we're talking about malas and mantras, sacred words, sacred syllables, sacred sounds. This is a wonderful chamber to be able to practice that and develop that skill and to actually see the energetic output so we can use that in our waking life. So you're seeing the literal energy is, I guess, what I'm getting to, one of the biggest benefits here. And so when you're awake, you're able to use that to kind of amplify all of your works. You can sync things up to make them more effective, like in ceremonial magic, especially when we talk about sigils and symbols that we are creating in a dream state and then we are activating in our waking conscious life. So you can feel what that energy does, you can see it, you can move it, and it's just a benefit across the board in terms of how we can use that knowledge. So dreams are to me like an alchemical lab. Really, it is. It's like a lab, where you can practice and you can play and then use that in your waking life. Now, I also believe that whatever you witness directly will change you. This is across the board, not just in a dream state, but what we witness, we absorb and it changes us. And that's whether we're asleep or awake, but especially in lucid dreams where we can create a scenario, absorb what we're witnessing, and then use that in our daily waking life. So it's very intentional, which makes it much more powerful, much more impactful. And we're taking out the negative side effects that sometimes when we do this in our conscious waking life may come into play. So there's that. So why is lucid cultivation important? We kind of talked about some of the benefits here, but I think one of the biggest benefits and one of the bigger important areas is cohesive magical relationships. I think for me personally, I've done a lot of ancestral visitation work in dream states, and I have been able to develop those spiritual relationships, those working relationships that have assisted me in my practice. I use an example here, people can summon the spirit of anything. You can summon the spirit of mugwort, for example, right? Everything that has energy exists, it vibrates, it's alive, it has some sort of spiritual energetic attachment that can be called in, that can be harnessed. You can develop a relationship with that energy and then use it for benefiting yourself and others. Now, one thing I do want to point out is, I did do a series on astral projection. This is very different. Okay, so when we talk about out-of-body experiences, that's an astral energy body. That's in this reality. That's astral projection. Now, when we're talking about lucid dreaming, where you're in a lucid dream, that is a mental energy body. That is not the same thing. It is very, very different. So sometimes people have a hard time differentiating between an astral energy body, which is grounded in some form of reality, some context of it, and the lucid dream body, which is a mental energy body, which is free from those restraints or constraints. So I like to use this little metaphor of salt, mercury, and sulfur. Okay, so salt is the foundations, right? Mercury is the spiritual motivators or the motivation points, and sulfur is the transformation point, right? And the reason I use this with lucid dreaming is magic in wake is to catalyze spiritual alchemy. I hope that makes sense. If you want to change one base to a higher nature, the rest will follow. So we use lucid dreaming to catalyze our own spiritual alchemy and development so that in our waking life, we can take the tools that we have created in those states, the knowledge we have gained in those states, the magical cohesive relationships we have forged in those states, and we use them to change a base of salt, mercury, or sulfur into a higher vibrational state so we can perform better, we can manifest better. And it naturally is going to have the effect of increasing all of the vibrational platforms at some point. It's just a process like anything else in life, right? So I think that's important in terms of cultivating a lucid practice. Okay, so what do you need to do to become lucid in your dreams? So some of us use equipment. I have a casino. Lisa uses a David Pals. Some people take supplements, and I'm going to get into those today too, because I think those are very helpful for individuals, especially with how busy life is in society right now. Um, I think there's a lot of ways you can do this. I wanted to roll out what I thought was the simplest way for you guys. So I think some of the simple ways you can start developing this lucid dream activation or lucid dream process is before you go to bed at night, think about your goals. What do you want to achieve in your dream? Plan your dreams. You can even plan spells you want to cast in your dreams. Okay, you can cast pre-dream spells. Those of you who have Dreamwork altars, as you know, I have my altar. I think I did a video on it probably a year or so ago showing you how to maybe make one, but mine is built right into the headboard of my bed. My dream work altar is right there behind me all night long. So you can do pre-dream spell work right there on your dream work altar. One thing I will tell you is you know, don't go overboard. And the reason I say that in the beginning is because any intense sensations are going to yank you back, right? They're going to pull you back in. So keep it mild until you really have a good handle of navigating that lucid space. There are supplements, I talk about sundrop or snowdrop flower. There's a lemon balm and valerian root tea I really like, but I'm going to really break this down more at near the end of the presentation because there's a lot to unload and unpack there. But any kind of predisposition, talk about what you want to dream, read about lucid dreaming, do these things before bed to kind of activate that energy, right? Get it rolling in the right direction. So when we talk about lucid dream induction, biggest thing with anything is intention setting. You guys know this, whether you're casting a spell, you're, divinating for somebody, it's all about intention. So set your intention. You want to state your lucid activation statements. So this can be very, very simple. Some examples I use, and you want to keep this consistent. I realize I am dreaming. I am lucid in my dreams. Some people use sigils, but I would, in the beginning, attach vocalization to those sigils. It's good to have a sigil developed that you can look at that can transform and transmute, but you also want to use sacred words, sacred syllables, at least in the beginning. Remember, it's a very Buddhist practice. Um, Practice what's, kind of watching what happens in your mind. And don't go into what we call blackout mode. That, again, is that hypnagogic, half awake, half asleep state that is a trickster state. I don't know what else to call it, but you have to really train yourself to watch, but not get pulled into blackout mode. Now, when you're in that hypnagogic state, when you're in or, kind of circling around what I call blackout mode, there's going to be color. There's going to be weird spaces and tunnels. You don't want to attach to these images. This isn't your lucid dream. This isn't your lucid dream space. You just want to watch those as a witness, okay? Because a lot of times that'll kind of keep you on that plane of operating and you don't really cross over into a more liminal space. Be aware of false awakenings. I experience this quite often when I think I'm waking up, but it's really me waking into a new dream, right? Have you guys seen that movie? Oh gosh, what is the name of it? It starts with an I. I want to say induction. It's not induction. Now I'm gonna have to look. There is a movie that kind of references this. Like they engineer dreams to like get somebody to sign a contract. They're like planting seeds in this guy's dream state, and they keep going to all these deeper levels and waking up into new dreams. And I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the movie. And I can see the actor clear as day. He's very, very famous, and I can't think of his name. Oh well, it'll come to me. Anyway, moving on. There's also a process, it's called the waking and back to bed process. No technical terms there, but go to bed, set an alarm for 4 to 5 hours after going to sleep. This is your REM loading time, right? So when you wake up after that time period, you're not going to want to do things like look at your phone and get all screwy with, electrical interference. Journal. Stay awake for at least 30 minutes. Maybe drink some tea, meditate, and then you're going to go back to sleep. Now, once you go back to sleep, you should be in a dream-induced lucid dream. And once you do this long enough, you can start interpreting your sleep, your cycle changes. Your REM is going to start activating faster. You're going to start getting into what we call those neural grooves, but it does take practice, right? You got to be patient. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the effort. It's not going to be overnight. I think a lot of people get really excited, and when things don't start happening right away, they get very frustrated, or down in the dumps, and they just give up. Don't do that. Okay. Anything worth doing is worth doing over a period of time. So, setting personal reality checks and lucid dream plans. So, first of all, lucid dreams don't last real long. They're usually just a few minutes in length. Okay. They may feel like they're much longer, but in reality, they're not. You need good anchors. And when I talk about anchors, grounding, kind of like that movie. Damn, I can't, because the guy in the movie, he had like one of those twirly whirls that he would spin on the table. And if it stayed spinning, he was in a dream. And if it fell over, he was in a waking life. I can't believe I can't remember this movie. Anyway, moving on. Anchors. It could be anything, looking at your feet, making sure they're on the ground, looking at your hands, making sure they look normal, touching something solid that you're visualizing in a dream, twirling, calling out some sort of prompt in your dream. Just be very specific and exact as to what you're using to anchor. If you are divinating in a lucid dream, one thing I want to throw in here before we even go any further is who's answering you? You need to ask where you're getting your insights from in your dream. There are other things you can do for that anchoring effect. Some people do ruins. That's very popular. Making the ohms sounds is very popular. So find what works for you, but have those anchors in place. Um, when we are working on cultivating our practice, I think it's so imperative to be journaling your dreams. And in that journal, include your intended dreams, regardless if that happened or not. What was your intention, and then what actually happened. Include your dream plans, your dream goals. All these things should be documented. I would meditate. I would carve out 20 minutes a day, every day for meditation. I think that the best form of meditation for lucid dreaming is not guided imagery or visualization based. It is sitting in silence, okay? Have a single point of focus. You want very crisp, clear mental focus. So, more focused equals more efficient, equals less stress. It's going to be easier to slip in and out of that state. And then reality checks. Again, this goes back to that damn movie. This is driving me nuts because I'm looking at this movie in my mind and the actors in it. Is it Inception? I think the name of the movie is Inception. And the actor, oh gosh, he's so famous. The main actor, who the hell is it? I can't. Okay, moving on. Okay, reality checks. So you want to test the nature of reality to see if you're dreaming or not, if you are an avid dream worker. If you're only doing this once in a while, but if you're doing this 3, 4 times a week, you want some sort of reality check system, because reality checks will fail in a lucid state. So pick a physical method and make it a habit, okay? It has to be consistent. It has to be the same. You can't choose something different every time you're going in and out. So it could be the hands check again. I want you to try to merge your anchor with your reality checks so they make sense, right? And they feed off of each other. They back each other up. I would do this once an hour minimum. Time is kind of hard to gauge. If you can gauge it, do it that way. If you can't, just do it regularly enough that you know what's going on. Um, Another example is pinching your nose. Okay, pinching your nose and trying to deeply inhale. So one of two things is going to happen. If the air is blocked, you're awake or you're in reality, right? If you're in a dream, air is going to go rushing in, even with it pinched off. So that's a good way to not only do a reality check, but an anchor check. Pinches, pinching yourself, know what that sensation is. So, pinch yourself a few times, really get familiar with that sensation, and then look for it to match, obviously. And then there's hovering. Some people use hovering as a reality check, trying to levitate their body. Obviously, in a dream state, you'll be able to, and here in reality, you won't. Damn gravity. But those are some good examples. So lucid visualization exercise. So this is something to kind of get your mind conditioned and trained to do some what I call literal looking, which it's really important to have this skill developed. Again, it's about conditioning the mind for reception and for understanding what you're doing and staying lucid and staying in control. So very simple exercise, you guys. I would use this daily or maybe right before bed if you are doing a lucid dream goal or you're going to be casting spells or divinating in a lucid dream state. Close your eyes, do some breathing exercises, feel yourself again, however this works for you. Be aware of your sensations in your body. You're going to pay attention to your breath, and then you are going to shift that attention to the back of your closed eyelids. And what I want you to do in this state is you're going to look at the center point of your eyes. You're going to find the center. You're going to focus on it, okay? You're going to watch it in a very detached way, detached from any sort of expectation, okay? You're not waiting to see a vision or colors. You are literally just focusing on the back of the center of the eyelids, right? Now, this is going to be elusive. It's going to be changeable. Every time you start shifting, bring it back to center, right? Train yourself to come back to center. So you're going to take a deep breath after doing this for, I would say, about 5-ish minutes. Release your effort and then open your eyes. What this lucid exercise does is it trains you to focus, to remain detached from any kind of expectations like visions and colors. You want to stay grounded somewhat, right? You want to know that what you're experiencing is happening. Okay, does that make sense? I don't know how else to word that. That sounds shitty, but you guys get the gist of it, right? You don't want to let your mind start creating storylines. You want to create the storylines. This is a good way to train yourself and condition yourself to do that. Okay, so let's talk about supplements because there are quite a few practitioners that use supplements to assist them or devices like a David Pals or a Casina Mind Machine. So let's talk about these. The first one is Huperzine A. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing it right. I don't personally take, I'll tell you the one that I take, but this isn't one that I take. But this is kind of like the real engine, I guess, behind a lot of lucid dreaming supplements. So it breaks down like, I'm not going to try to pronounce some of these words, you guys. You can read it. It's a neurotransmitter that your brain needs for self-awareness during REM. So if you can inhibit that enzyme, obviously you can lucid dream and be in full control, right? It does build tolerance quickly, so you're going to have to up your dose if you're doing it regularly. But this first one is the number one. It's Hooper, or I think I'm pronouncing it right, Huperzine. So the next one is alpha GPC or CDP choline. These are precursors to that same enzyme. They feed the same pathway. They are really good for dream recall specifically, but they are used in lucid dreaming groups and practices. Um, so it's worth trying, especially if you wake up and you're only grabbing fragments and you are not seeing the full picture. This is a supplement that will help bring the full picture in. So they do recommend taking it mid-sleep with that wake back to bed method that we were talking about for the best results. So waking up 4 to 5 hours and then, going into your REM lucid dream state. And then, kind of at that point, that would be a good time to take it. So vitamin B6, they've done double blind studies. They've shown scientifically that it increases dream vividness and dream recall. Taking it right before bed is probably the best way to take this supplement. Um, Magnesium glycinate. This one doesn't really get talked about enough. It's not marketed for dreaming or lucid dreaming, but it really dramatically deepens your sleep quality and extends your REM state. So If you have dreams that are shallow, they're hard to hold. If you have really poor sleep architecture, like you're just a bad sleeper, insomniac, this is going to help with that. I think that this supplement really addresses all these issues, right? So it addresses it at the root. So I would definitely give this one a try. Now there's Dreamleaf Pro. This is the one that I just personally started incorporating into my practice. So I'm new to it, so I'm not, I haven't seen a big shift or change yet. I'll let you guys know in a month or whatever. But Dreamleaf Pro, it's available on Amazon, by the way. It's a two pill formula. There's a red pill, a blue pill. So it's a very logical formula in my book. Like I look at science behind some of this stuff, but so the blue pill kind of settles you into a deep sleep. The red pill is going to be taken 4 to 5 hours later when you set that alarm to wake up. It's going to kind of flood your system with those choline compounds during REM rebound sleep. That's when we go lucid, right? So the mechanism is very sound. Obviously, the results are going to vary. I'm going to let you know in about a month or so how I feel this is either enhancing my practice, or if it's not doing anything, I'll let you know. It's too soon to really gauge. Then, of course, there's lion's mane. So let me move myself here. So it's a mushroom, of course, right? So I wouldn't take it as just a night of. Some of these you can take like the night you're going to do lucid dream right before bed or whatever. This is one that's more of a daily supplement. You need to build it up in your system. So it really does support nerve growth, right? That you have to factor that in for production, which kind of improves our overall cognitive clarity. So that clarity that this develops kind of carries into our dream state over time. So for lion's mane mushroom, think of it as infrastructure work, right? It's not a quick trigger like some of these are. It's more of like building foundational support for long-term dream work. So that's one that I would look into. All right, so traditional plants and allies, right? Some of these, they don't really have the clinical paper trails like the ones I just talked about, but they have been consistently used. They have deep ancestral use. They have cross-cultural testimony. So I wanted to bring them out. Mugwort. You guys know how much I love mugwort. I really think I must use mugwort in fucking everything. I'm a mugwort addict. Can you be addicted to mugwort? I don't know, but the energy I'm addicted to. So this is one of the oldest dream herbs across many, many different traditions. It does enhance your dream vividness, your recall, especially at that hypnagogic imagery, but you don't want to get stuck there. Remember what we were talking about. Um, you can take it in a lot of different ways, teas, capsules, smoking it. It's a very real tradition, and the effect is very real for most individuals. Then there is this dream herb that is very hard to pronounce. Uh, let's try it together. Kalia Zekatekiki. I don't know, maybe, but it's Oazaken, right? It's from a shamanic tradition. It's used in ceremonies for dream divinations. It has been for centuries. So it does increase these micro awakenings and your hypnagogic state, which creates more entry points for lucidity. Again, we're talking about getting into that liminal space. It's going to taste terrible, so capsules are probably the way to go. And, use it respectfully. It can, some of these can be abused, and just be smart, you guys. Uh, okay, so let me just move myself here. Last one here, another mushroom. There is a history for dream intensity and emotional depth during sleep with Reishi. So it's slower to build. It's more subtle than other cholinergic pathway supplements, right? Cholinergic. Did I say that right? But the dream quality, when it does work, is different. Very, very rich. It's worth having in your arsenal, especially if you're already taking lion's mane. You can throw another one in there. It's fine. All right, moving on. Things to skip. I wanted to talk about red flags because I feel like us in the spiritual community are targeted with scammy products all the time. I have clients that come to me and they've bought all this shit. They've spent all this money on things that don't even make sense, but the spiritual community definitely is targeted. So let me talk about, especially with dream work, let me talk about the red flags for a minute. Things that you want to skip, things that you want to avoid. So again, it's not a weakness that we, believe in energetic transmissions, right? But there are those out there that view it as a weakness, right? It's our strength for sure, but it does make us a target. So, things I would tell you to avoid any sort of Ormus, monatomic gold, or colloidal gold products are bullshit. Okay, so this is everywhere right now, which is why I'm bringing it up. They package it beautifully, right? They spiritually code it. They bring in the Egyptian and alchemical imagery. It's very expensive. They talk about pineal gland activation, third eye decalcification, DNA awakening, light body activation. So here's the reality. Okay, this was invented by some farmer in the 70s. His claims are never independently verified. They actually contradict established chemistry. You guys, science is science a little bit, and science does back magic, and science also disproves certain elements of magic, and this is one of those areas. Now, when independent researchers have analyzed these products, they have consistently found all that's in there are mineral salts. You have your magnesium, your sodium, your potassium. These are the same things that come in those cheap little electrolyte packets, all right? There is no peer-reviewed science supporting monatomic gold's existence, period, especially in supplement form, let alone its effects on the pineal gland, okay? So this whole pineal gland decalcification claim is very unsupported, you guys. Now, while calcification does occur in the pineal gland with age, there is no evidence. I'm pointing to my third eye the whole time. Sorry, you guys. Pineal gland. Um, there's no evidence that any supplement reverses that, okay, or that doing so would unlock, psychic capacity. Do I believe that the pineal gland has spiritual capacity? Yes. But I don't believe these products are going to help you activate that. Okay. Now, if you're using it and you're finding value, some people do through the placebo effect. I'm not telling you your experience isn't real. I think placebos and ritual intentions are very powerful things, but just know what you're paying for, is all I'm saying, because these are expensive products. All right, these proprietary blend formulas. Boy, I can't talk today. It's been every day lately. I think I'm just like Uranus moving into Gemini has me fucking exhausted. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna pretend. I'm tired. Anyway, moving on. Anything that is labeled a proprietary blend. Okay, so like if you guys look on my website, in a lot of my listings, especially with my compounds, I actually list out what I use. I do that for two reasons. I want you to know what I'm putting in there because what if you're allergic, or what if you're taking another product that has all those elements in it? Especially like for my breath drops, my consumption spell works, even for things that you're not going to interact with, like with my root works and with my papatree, I do list out the elements I use for those because I want you to know. Like, I want you also to learn. Like, maybe you'll start doing it yourself someday. So, these companies that hide the information, they always make me nervous. So, usually, if a supplement will list its ingredients but hides the dosages behind that label, it's a problem. Typically, I find across all markets, not just the spiritual one. You really have no idea what you're getting in terms of dosing. Is it a therapeutic dose? Is it just fairy dusting? What is it? We want to take products that are disclosing exact amounts for lots of different reasons. A lot of us take other supplements. We're putting other things in our body. We need to know about interactions. We need to know if there's something that we're potentially allergic to in there. So I just don't like secrets like that. All right, anything really claiming to activate your DNA, you guys, you like code workers especially. I love you guys. I do, my star seeds, I love you guys, but you're spending so much money on stuff to activate your DNA. This is a marketing phrase with really no scientific meaning. It is a full stop for me. I think it is a way to scam people out of money. So anything with extremely high price points that doesn't have like any kind of ingredient transparency, hard pass, right? So like mugwort capsules, for example, they just cost a few dollars. Hooper, or I keep wondering if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Hooperzine A, that's an inexpensive product. all of these products for dream work are fairly inexpensive. So if you find a product charging $100 for a dream blend and they're not telling you what's in it or the amounts, I suggest walking away, right? Because it just doesn't make sense. Or somebody's just being really greedy. I don't like that. All right, so my suggestion for starting simple, if you want to experiment without building a full stack, okay? Number one, the magnesium glycinate nightly. This is going to improve your baseline sleep architecture first and foremost. Number two, vitamin B6. Add this in and keep a dream journal for at least 2 weeks. Number three, mugwort tear capsules. Yes, I'm a mugwort junkie. There are worse things to be addicted to in this life. Here's the thing. Layer in this plant ally specifically when you feel ready. And then again, log, right? Keep that journal going. I think from there, you're going to have enough data on your own to develop your own system to know whether you want to add any cholinergic, come on, you guys, supplements. And those are like the Hyperzine A or the Alpha GPC. Now, of course, no supplement replaces practice, the practice or a DreamWork Alter or DreamWork sigils, or any of the other things that we're doing. It's not going to replace that, but the right supplements can really help open doors that we've been knocking on for a while that maybe we're having a hard time getting through. Okay, so dream well. Oh my goodness. I added in a catchphrase at the end there. I want to just say thank you to all the support from all my Patreons, especially those of you in a paid tier. You help keep this series going. Well, all of the series that we're running on Patreon right now, from numerology, sacred sexuality, dream work, you name it. Right here on the left, we have our Patreon QR code. You can join at any time, cancel at any time. And on the right is our main website where we have all kinds of fascinating information and articles and products and services and you name it. So check us out. I'm going to hit stop share for just a second, or maybe I'm not actually. I forgot. I have another 5 slides for those of you who have stuck in through the end of this little EDU. I did another 5 slides breaking down my personal products that I use. Some of them I make in the shop, but I also use third-party vendors because like I don't know how to make vapes and I don't want to screw around with that. And I do use some vapes in my practice with Dreamwork, Lucid Dreamwork specifically. And I am going to jump into that and show you now. So those of you who stuck around, you get a treat. You're getting a treat. Okay, so let me pull up some of my stuff. I brought it in here. Hang on. Whoa. Okay, the very first one that I want to talk to you about, I like using a company called Bliss Wellness. So I curate and compound a lot of my own stuff. However, there are certain things I'm not good at. Can you believe it? Making vapes is one of them. And so this is called Down the Rabbit Hole, if you can see this. It is a mushroom vape. Let me show you what it looks like. Here it is, very simple, very basic vape. I think I paid like maybe $60 for it, but you can find it, on sale and they have special pricing, different times of the year. But what this is, this down the rabbit hole, I use this for part of my I use it specifically for spell casting in lucid states. It's called Pantherina mushroom extract. So it is a dose, a very refined dose of, again, musimol. I don't know if that's how you say it. Listen, I know the words when I see them. I hate saying them out loud. Basically, this creates a state of very serene clarity. Okay, it's great for calming, grounding, and just creatively expansive qualities. I call it the Jupiter mushroom. I feel like it's a Jupiterian mushroom. So it is designed for that mindful exploration. It kind of invites in focus, balance, introspection. So this particular mushroom, it's been used for centuries in all sorts of traditional practices as kind of like a tool for, self-discovery, balance, and most importantly, spiritual connection, which is one of the qualities of this mushroom extract that I like. So its active compound again is celebrated for these things. Microdosing, of course, can enhance, focus and creative flow. I think higher doses kind of support more deeper reflection and personal insight. I think that if you do something like this or add it into your practice, you should kind of develop a microdosing schedule over time to kind of develop that sense of balance, resilience, and connection that you're looking for consistently. It can help you approach life with more presence and intention, and especially if you're casting any liminal space like your dreams. Um, so each puff does deliver one precise dose of this extract. So I use, so the suggested use I put here, take 2 to 5 puffs per dose for optimal effects. I only take like two. I don't think you need more than that unless, you just want that very deep kind of reflective state. Um, so a lot of focus, a lot of imagination and peace, kind of coexisting in a harmonious way. It's very good for, I think, casting in general, divination in general, but I like it for dream work. So I kind of wrote out here, like, if you're using it consistently, what the potential benefits are: creative expression that's heightened, greater empathy, a greater sense of connection, mental emotional equilibrium, enhanced resilience to everyday stress. Who doesn't need that? A more balanced, uplifted mood. I put some facts on here too for you guys. So I do think it's pretty safe to combine with other substances, but I think that, you should use it on its own to understand how it's going to affect you personally before you combine it with anything. And I would not combine it with alcohol or sedatives. Um, yes, you can microdose with this vape, right? You don't have to like keep sucking on it to get a certain effect. It doesn't have strong psychoactive effects. It's not like magic mushrooms, right? Amanita muscaria or anything like that. Those primarily affect like serotonin pathways. So this extract really interacts with your GABA receptors. Okay, so that produces effects that are typically more grounded, relaxed, and dreamlike versus psychedelic or visual. Okay. I think people hear mushroom and they immediately go to like the 1970s microdot acid trips or something. So how long does it last? So I would say 1 to 3 hours is pretty accurate. I would say more like an hour and a half ish. It really depends on the person, your dosing, your sensitivity to it. Usually the onset is pretty gentle and then it's progressive from there. So like anything, like edibles, you want to, again, know your dosing. Don't be going crazy. Don't get one of these and be like 10 puffs. Let's see what happens. One puff, then maybe a second one an hour later, test yourself. All right, Blue Lotus. Hang on, let me grab it. Ooh, I should have put these closer to me. All right, this is a vape I use. It's a Blue Lotus vape. Let me show it to you. Here's the package it comes in. Let me show you what it looks like. If I can get her open. Hang on. There we go. So she's much smaller than the Down the Rabbit Hole mushroom vape. This is what the Blue Lotus vape looks like. Let me put this back up. Hang on. All right. So, this is ancient tranquility at its core, right? It's a plant powered experience. It's very rooted in relaxation and ritual, I mean, so this has been traditionally used as an aphrodisiac as well. So be aware of that. Um, People do use it as a sensory escape and ritual. So be aware of that as well. Oh, shit. Hang on. I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to move this little box. Okay, so this is again one of these supplements that helps with relaxation. So for me, to go into a lucid dream state, to do any kind of ancestral or visitation dreams, I really got to relax. I'm wired up most of the day. And if I don't supplement properly, I am almost too wired up to enter a liminal space. So this really helps with relaxing, reflection. Again, that creative flow. There's no THC in here, right? It's a botanical that really is, I keep saying ancient tradition. It's grown along the Nile River in Egypt. Most of you guys know that. I actually have a Blue Lotus oil I've sold in the shop for contact spell work, which I loved. but it does have calming euphoric properties. So it does support rest. It enhances mood. It promotes sensual awareness. So people that are doing love, lust, sex works, definitely I will incorporate some Blue Lotus. Um, because it has that natural aphrodisiac quality. Now, and it has a very strong association with very vivid or lucid dreaming as well. Now, if you start looking for Lotus vapes, I think again, these are around $60 too. There's usually a variety. There's different types. You have like your more light and uplifting one that's really good for like social settings or mental clarity. That's your sativa. Your hybrid is going to be very balanced, kind of like that bliss, but it is everyday calm without the sedation. And then there's indica. That's very deep, soothing. It's really designed for evening rituals, rituals, rest, and recovery. So I use a hybrid. I feel I've used all of them, but I feel like the hybrid works best for dreaming. What else can I tell you about this one? Let's see what I put on here for you guys. I just wanted to share with you what I use because I get questions all the time. People are like, "Well, what are you using? What are you doing?" This is what I'm using. This is what I'm doing. So it is associated with introspective states. It's non-psychoactive. Um, I think that's about it. Oh, the suggested use, these are kind of weird little vapes. Most of the Blue Lotus ones are. You actually have to press it like 5 times, like to turn it on. And then you press and hold while inhaling. And you're just going to kind of hit that vape until you kind of have the desired results. I only have to hit it like 2, 3 times. Um, you don't have to sit there like going crazy. You see these people sometimes and they're just like going crazy. I don't know why, but moving on. Next product I use. Ooh, let me turn around. So I like these guys. They're called the Brothers Apothecary. This is what it looks like. And I just got this. I just had to replace it's very small. It's a very small, let's see. This makes 3 cups only. Now, I will tell you, I make something very similar in my shop, and mine comes in a really nice big 8 ounce food grade plastic jar. It is my infused hot chocolate line. You can choose your intent, and I love mine, but I also like him, so I don't use mushrooms in my um, consumption spell work. I use herbal compounds, herbs, roots, and I use high quality herbs and roots in all of my products. So especially with my hot chocolates, and I love them. I actually just made for a client yesterday. It was our white chocolate peppermint money drawing hot chocolate. So I made her a nice 8 ounce container of that and sent it off. And the white peppermint actually is probably my favorite too. But let's talk about the Brothers Apothecary. I really like these guys. I like their adaptogenic mushroom blend. They use 10 mushrooms and hemp derived CBD, very functional botanicals. They nourish the mind, body, and spirit. I kind of broke down what they are using. So they're using Reishi Shaga, Cordyceps. It's all broken down here. Did I put it in here? I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. They do have it broken down for you, so they don't hide their ingredients. They're very transparent. They chose these 10 varieties of mushrooms to support balance, vitality, resilience. However, right, we take it a step further. It is a wonderful blend for dream work, especially lucid dreaming. So I kind of broke down in here. It's almost like a ritualized, just like my hot chocolates are very ritualized. This one is also very ritualized. So I think it's great for morning rituals, any kind of moments of mindfulness. I think they're good for evening rituals too, to be honest with you. You can drink it hot, you can blend it in with your coffee, you can use plant milks. I've used hemp milk. I like hemp milk, not everybody does. But I think it works really well with hemp milk. So this can be, morning or night, evening rituals. If you're going to mix it in your coffee in the morning, yeah, do that in the morning. Don't do that at night. But it does help support your body's natural rhythm throughout the day. So there's other benefits here too besides dream work. So this really the brothers here, this is inspired by a chocolate like tradition. It's a Mayan sacred cocoa elixir, right? And so this entire recipe is kind of based off of that. And the interesting thing is, it is modern alchemy for sure when we're talking about consumption spell work. That's why I love doing consumption spell work. But it's a harmonization of that ancient wisdom. And I don't think they realized that when they made this. Because I reached out to them and they were kind of like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, this is actually like a ritualized like formula used for dream work, like sacred ancestral visitation, lucid dreaming, and like they didn't know that, but I had a conversation with them and made them very aware. Anyways, the point is this particular blend beautiful for dream work. I would drink it at night if you're planning on dreaming, lucid dreaming. I would combine 1 tablespoon of the mix with 1 cup of hot milk. Or you can add 1 teaspoon of coconut oil or butter to even kind of improve the effects of that. So that kind of ramps up I would do that at night. So if you're drinking this at night, add the teaspoon of coconut oil or butter. It's going to really expedite the absorption and get you into the right energetic state after consuming this for your dream work. So that would be my recommendation. But that's what it looks like. Is there an aftertaste? People ask me that all the time. Like in my products, it depends on which intent, like the success and luck, the money, the love. I've been able to formulate those with a compound that there's not really an aftertaste. Some of the other ones, healing, I think there's an aftertaste. It's hard because I have to use very specific roots, very specific herbs, and I have to compound that down. And it's hard to do that and eliminate some of those roots are very bitter, you guys. I do my best, but some of them, there is an aftertaste. This one, I don't feel like there's much of an aftertaste, but then again, I have an interesting palate. I've had people say, yeah, there's an aftertaste. So it's just me. All right. So this next one is the Anima Mundi Dream Elixir. Let me grab it. Ooh, it's right here, you guys. Let's hold it up so you can see it. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is another one that I use. Now, I have made dream elixirs over the years. I do like them. They are very expensive to make. Therefore, they are very expensive to sell because not only do I have to pay for specialty roots and herbs, everything I sell online, I'm taxed for. I have to pay fees on for not just the listing and the site. Then there's, seller's fees. At the end of the day, if I had to break down costs and just covering my fees, it would still probably be a bit on the expensive side to sell. And so that's why I don't sell a lot of these because I mean I do them as custom orders, but again, it's kind of pricey for people. So they didn't move very fast. Anyway, moving on. This particular dream elixir, so it does help with meditation as well. It does promote restful sleep. Okay, so these botanicals and herbs really synergize to create a very soothing, but this has been, used for centuries too, kind of calming effect. It quiets the mind, so it shuts it down. Like, so somebody like me who is ADHDing, Asperger's or whatever all day long, like I need quiet, right? I need to get into that deeper state of relaxation. And a blend like this really helps. So, active ingredients. Okay, we have all of it written down. Some of them are very obvious. We have more blue lotus. We have skullcap in here. I love skullcap. Ginger, kava kava, on we go. Again, these are a combination of adaptogens, nervines, and aromatic botanicals. I guess they are automatic a little bit, but it's basically to support that deep rest and that dream time awareness. So a lot of these, again, if you look into the history of these herbs, they're found in a lot of different dream-based elixirs, okay? Usually passion flower is in there too. They have a history, of documented support for restorative sleep and for meditative states. Um, so a lot of these have been used in spiritual work, dream work traditions. Their ability to promote that peaceful, conscious transition into rest is undisputed. I can attest to that personally. If you take this right before bed as part of your ritual or part of your pre-dream casting or your pre-lucid dream structuring, however you want to word that, it is going to support that process. It's going to bring in more emotional ease, dream connected sleep, lots of natural relaxation. So I broke down again the active ingredients more so here for you guys. Rose is in here. And look at that at the very last. That Kalia Zakatakiki that we were talking about earlier is in here. So again, that's used in traditional Mesoamerican herbalism for dream time rituals and rest support. And that was one of the ones I recommended. So suggested use, I put 1 teaspoon to your favorite non-caffeinated tea. You can actually add that to like a mugwort, a valerian tea, or some sort of sleep or lucid dream tea. Add this teaspoon right in, just kind of double up that lucid dreaming supplementation, right? All right, so I think this is the last one. Let me grab it. Oh, it is. So in the past, quick story before I talk about this one. The girls were young. I think Maddie was in middle school. Anyways, I used to frequent in Chicago. It's called the 1901. The 1901 was by 19th and Beaumont. It was where we had the monthly craft fairy. And it was a lot of spiritualists or spirit workers that would come in. We would set up our booths. It was a craft fair for the esoteric metaphysical community. And back then, we're talking a long time ago. How old am I? I don't know. I'm not going to do the math. I'm tired. This was over a decade and a half ago, at least. And so we would go to these once or twice a month. There would always be the once a month, and then sometimes there'd be a special event. I did a lot of consumption spell work back then that was borderline illegal. And the reason I say that is because some of the tinctures I was using, the government was trying to ban, even though they shouldn't have banned them. They were very good, like lettuce opiate, for example. Lettuce opium has been used for centuries for spiritual work. And at that time, they were dark chocolate truffles that were infused with lettuce opium. I also made these 8 tablet dark chocolate candy bars infused with lettuce opium, lettuce opiate. And I'm just bringing that up because I was going to go somewhere with this. I also used to bake cookies. That's what it was. I used to bake cookies that were infused with different compounds. I remember the biggest seller I had back then was my lullaby cookies or my lullaby muffins. And what that basically was to get your kids to shut the fuck up and go to sleep at night. Kids with ADHD, Asperger's struggling, they could not shut down. I had a hard time with Lainey. And so I would make these lullaby cookies and these lullaby muffins when she was cycling. And so they were basically infused with, I think I used chamomile, mugwort. There were a couple other elements I was using, but they were a big seller. And so we would go down to the 1901 in Chicago and I would sell dozens of these cookies. I would have people emailing me pre-ordering and I would just be bringing them down and, um, oh God, what are the damn whatever. I would bring them down in containers. You guys, is it nap time or is it nap time? All right, listen. Last thing I wanted to show you, I really like these. They remind me of my days of the 1901 is the Blue Lotus Dreams sugar cookie. It is actually a lotus rainbow sprinkled sugar cookie. Um, I would be making these on the site and selling them, but you know what, you guys? It's so hard with edibles like this. They go bad quickly. They get hard, they get gross, and I'd rather do it in person. Like if I was doing an event, I would make them and bring them so they're fresh. But it says right on here, it's called Let's Get Baked. I love it. But Blue Lotus Dreams Sugar Cookie for relaxation, mood enhancement, and increased libido. We're not using it for increased libido. We're using it for dream work. So again, Blue Lotus. Blue Lotus, everybody talks about it as an aphrodisiac, and yes, it is, but it's so important in dream work too, you guys. So this cookie I really, really like. It tastes really good. They do a really good job at making this cookie, Bliss does. Very good ingredients, wholesome ingredients, very fresh. You don't taste that aftertaste that sometimes comes with Blue Lotus. I really like it. So again, it kind of breaks down what Blue Lotus is used for. This cookie is very soft, sweet. It has that, it says sprinkled with a little bit of ancient magic. I love that. What a great marketing ploy, but it really truly is. It's not just a marketing ploy. Again, taking it back to the Egyptian pharaohs, It was cherished as a flower of joy, serenity, and sensuality. And then in art and ritual, it symbolized transcendence, intimacy, and dreamlike reverie, right? So, unlike drinking it in a tea or smoking it, which can bring on the essence of the flower much more quickly, eating it, as with all consumption works, in its edible form, it creates a much slower, longer lasting experience and effect. One that really unfolds very gently, kind of wrapping you up in that more relaxing, kind of uplifted state. So this is the other one liner. This isn't just a cookie, it's a ritual disguised as dessert. I love that. I seen that they do a very good job at describing their products. I gotta get better at that. But so it just kind of breaks down the active ingredients in here. Again, deepen awareness, awaken intuition, especially used during meditation, enhances mood. It aids in emotional balance. It creates that sense of lightness and ease. It is a sacred flower. It is used as a natural sleep aid. It really encourages a deeper, more restful sleep. Um, and it works well with lucid dreaming. It works well with it, you guys. I can attest to that because of the mental clarity and the reduction of stress that it brings to the table, that calming property it brings to the table. I'm going to sneeze. Okay, I'm not. So, in terms of suggested use, if you try this product, you can eat as much of it as you want, but I would listen to your body and start low and slow. Eat a piece and then wait about 45 minutes after ingesting it just to kind of gauge the effects before consuming more. Because when we're eating edibles, the effects can take anywhere from a half hour to an hour to really kick in. So, you don't want to like eat a whole. One year I made infused Rice Krispie treats. True story. Marijuana. Brought them to my girlfriends. They were Christmas presents. I made them all a tin of infused Rice Krispie treats. And they tasted amazing. And my one friend, she just ate the whole damn one. Just ate it. Like, boom, gone, like couple minutes. And I said, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "Do you know how much can butter I put in there?" And sure as shit, like she was like a crazy zombie I mean, it was scary actually. We were all a little bit nervous. But same thing here. It is an edible. Blue lotus isn't going to affect you like certain mushrooms and certain other herbs, but again, you don't know how your body is going to react to consuming it and digesting it and breaking it down that way. So always run a test. Take a little bite, wait a half hour, see how you're feeling. So again, I kind of broke down the facts with this. Blue lotus is that water lily, Egyptian culture, spiritual properties used in ceremonial rituals. What does it do? We kind of talked about that already. Um, Again, people use it for meditation, lucid dreaming, mild spiritual experiences. Will it make you high? No, it will not make you high like cannabis or marijuana. It will produce very mild euphoric or kind of dreamy feelings, especially if it's smoked or if it's steeped like in a tea in much larger doses and quantities. If you eat this whole cookie within like 1 minute, maybe, but other than that, no. All right. Can I combine it with other herbs? Yes. You can combine it, especially again, it works well with, passion flower, mugwort, lavender, chamomile. It's really going to enhance that relaxation or that dream work that you're doing. So I think that was the last one. It was. So I wanted to share that with you so you guys know what I use and whatnot. And it kind of, if it's something interesting, you can ask me questions or add it to your practice. These are all aids. They assist us. They're tools that we use to help us in our personal practices. So I hope you like this one, you guys. Stay magical. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to hit me up. All right. Can I turn it off? Maybe not. Let's try it. Stay magical.